So today I wanted to take a minute to talk to you about Germany before World War II. The Treaty of Versailles has happened. There's a lot of reparations they're supposed to be paying, and Germany is going through a lot of economic difficulties at the time. To pay off all these reparations, they end up printing a bunch of money, which leads to something that we know as inflation. And what inflation means is simply that you've made so much money that it becomes worthless. This wiped out people's retirements and everything else. And people were struggling to get by. People resorted to doing desperate things like using cash to heat their homes, light the fires that would heat their homes. And wallpaper, all kinds of different uses for this cash. Because it was so worthless that that was the best thing they could think to do with it. So, I'll be right back. So, as you can imagine, times of inflation and depression led to some people having to do some very desperate things just to get by, you know? And they did what they had to do, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So, I wanted to talk to you about a few things today. And first of all, I want to just ask you a question. Where does money get its value from? You know, we have all this cash, we use it to buy things, but why is money in itself valuable? It's just paper. But yet we use it to buy all kinds of things. So where is this value coming from? I mean, intrinsically, paper money has the ability to be used as fire starter, as you saw in the little video. And by the way, she's fine. She's right here. But other than that, what is the real value of cash? And the short and simple answer is the value of money is the value that we all collectively give it. It's only it's what we call fiat money. There is no true value in it. It's just a value that we collectively decide to assign it. So that means that money's value can shift dramatically over different crises, and that's exactly what happened in Germany during prior to World War II. So, just to cut us back here for a minute, post World War I, Europe is a mess. They are decimated financially, and many of their industry has been closed in certain capacities, rerouted into the war effort and such. And the real winner in World War I was the U.S., who our economy was booming during that time because we were supplying so much to the Allied forces. And Europe is just really, really struggling in this post-war period. Nobody more so than Germany, partially because of the Treaty of Versailles and everything that was dictated to them through that. Most notably, the reparations they had to pay and much of their territory being lost, either in the form of the Rhineland going back to France or them losing those other parts of their empire that were around the world. By we I mean the Allies, put into place the Weimar Republic. So the Weimar Republic is a democratic government put into place in Germany. It meant hopefully to stabilize things, but ultimately it's kind of a weak government, and it doesn't share a lot of popular support, as many dictated governments don't. And many people are frustrated with the Treaty of Versailles and the Weimar's Republic willingness to deal within its clauses, most notably paying all of these reparation monies when they're going through their own economic downturn. So Germany pays a payment or two on these reparations, but ultimately they're unable to keep that up, and they are forced to say that they can't make the next payment. France takes this opportunity and then they seize what is known as the Ruhr Valley, which is a very rich place in Germany, lots of industry going on there. And their hope is to use German workers, allow the German workers to keep working there, and have them basically pay back France through the profits from this place. So France has annexed a whole section of Germany that wasn't part of the Treaty of Versailles. This is completely separate. This is meant as payment for that those reparations that weren't being paid. In order to pay for the workers in that area who, coincidentally enough, went on strike instead of working for the French, and the Germans still wanted to pay them, and many other things that they needed to pay for during these economic hard times, they ended up printing more money to do that. And that's historically one of the worst things that you can do in a crisis, is just start printing money, because that leads to inflation, like we talked about. All of a sudden, a $100 bill, instead of, buying your groceries for a week, is now buying not even a loaf of bread anymore. Now, in the short term, yes, wages start going up because of that. People have to pay more people because the value of the money is less. But that doesn't help people who had savings, especially retirees and elderly. Those people are left out of this, and the inflation just is horrible for them. But it's horrible for everybody because it's happening so quickly. This is rapid inflation. Inflation is natural. Many economists say that a small amount of inflation is a good thing. It spurs on economic growth, but it needs to be very, very slow over a long period of time, and that's not what was happening in Germany. It was very, very quickly. So we have the printing of the money and the inflation, and the economic crash of 1929, 1930, you would know it as the Great Depression. The Great Depression in America, obviously, I hope you guys already know some about that, but I think we often tend to look at it as an American issue, and it wasn't. It was an issue all over the world. Especially, nowhere was hit harder than Germany, who is already going through all these economic problems, already paying these reparations, already having a bunch of inflation, and then the Great Depression comes like an anvil down on top of them. So, causes for the Great Depression, a lot of debate among economists, but things that are often cited: overproduction. You make too much of a product. The wartime economy had spurred on a lot of creation and a lot of goods being made, and when the war ramped down, that led to an overproduction and too many things being made, too many things having already been made, and that leads to layoffs. If you have too much product and you're not selling that much product anymore, why do you keep paying people to keep making those products? And that leads to massive layoffs all over the world. The financial panic, people pulling all of their money out of the stock market. Sound familiar? During this COVID thing, the stock market has taken some of the biggest dives, the biggest dives of your life, the biggest dive, I believe, of my life as well, and some of the most significant dives in the stock market since the Great Depression. So we might likely see some of these negative effects. Hopefully we've learned from history and we'll deal with this one better. But we're seeing some of that financial panic right now. High tariffs, countries charging each other to do business, charging large amounts to do business with each other, and massive war debt, especially in the case of Germany, but also, France and England, they have their own debts to pay back to primarily America. So all of those things come together, and there are other factors that economists state, but the Great Depression is a complex issue. But ultimately, the result of that is a lot of U.S. bankers pull all of their money out of investments that they had in Europe, and that leads to this becoming a worldwide depression, not just a localized depression in America. And one of the many downsides to that is, along down the line, this ends up contributing to Hitler's rise to power. Hitler was a notable-ish figure in Germany, and he was really focused on the Treaty of Versailles and the economic problems facing Germany, and he predicted, supposedly, this crash. And so when it actually happened, he ended up looking like a prophet. And many people think, well, if he knew that it was going to happen, of course, obviously, he's going to know how to end it and how to deal with it. And that is one of the one of the bigger contributors to Hitler's rise to power. Of course, anti-Semitism is a huge part of that as well. Many people throughout Europe and in America during this time are highly anti-Semitic, which means against Jewish people. And that part of his rhetoric and that part of his message appeals to a lot of people. It would, be remiss in saying it didn't. It absolutely was a huge part of it. And the fact that he predicted this, it leads to Hitler's rise to power. So in this one, we're talking mostly about Germany pre-World War II. We're kind of giving a little bit of background, so the notes are going to give you more information. But this is all just to give you a little bit of background on pre-World War II Germany, to kind of show you how we're getting where we are when we talk about the actual war next week. And in the other video that I'm going to post on here, we're going to talk about pre-World War II Japan and everything that leads up to World War II from their perspective. All right. So I hope you're enjoying your home study time here. And just like the other video, I'm going to put on some bloopers. I don't know if these ones are quite as good, but you guys seemed to really like it last time. So I hope you're having a great time. Be safe and have a good one. People had to do some very, very desperate things just to get by during the Great Depression. Crisis led to people having to do some very desperate things. And I wanted, I crumpled it all up. World War, blech. Kinds of uses for the wind won't let me light it. You can imagine, sometimes a depression requires people to do desperate things, but people survived, people went on, and overall, life went on. That's terrible. Where money actually come from? We have all this cash and we think it's valuable, but why is it valuable?